Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can, yes.
Good to see everybody. Hope everyone's enjoying the beautiful weather.
Yeah, we had to go through the same thing. So, yeah. It's not just you. It's okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's currently 1:30. We'll kick off. We do have quorum technically. Hopefully, a few more people can wander in the next little while. There's only 9 of us total, so we have to watch you go to the bathroom. So with that in mind, we'll start off and say that we are going to recognize that we're conducting our business today principally on the territories of the Coopetichit and Shot First Nations, to recognize, affirm, and be thankful for that fact. This is also, just in the gallery for now. And so we have some directors here in the office today, as well as we have people online. So we're always in a hybrid format, just for convenience sake and for quorum. And so because we're in a hybrid format, we'll go through and introduce ourselves around the table today, including staff, and then I will ask the folks online just to quickly introduce themselves. And then we'll get right into the meeting itself. So thank you, everyone. Oh, yes, as well. If you're an attendee at this meeting on Zoom, or if you're watching on YouTube, we don't monitor the chats in the same way that you might be used to. We use an email address for all of our comments and questions at the end of the day. So that's responses@acrd.bc.ca. That's normally the way to get a hold of us when you're not physically in the gallery. So for those of you in the gallery, thank you for being here. With that in mind, though, we'll go straight into introductions, and we'll start on my right and work this way. So please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Heather Zenner, Manager of Administrative Services.
Hi, Debbie Haggard. I am the city appointed representative from Port Alberni City Council and Vice Chair of the Vision District.
Hello, Aklama Penikote. I am the Electoral Area Director for Sprout Lake on this ACRD board.
Mike Sparrow, HRD Director for Cherry Creek. Thank you.
Terry Fong, and today I am Acting Chief Administrative Officer.
I am Jenny Brunn, General Manager of Community Services.
Good afternoon, Alex Dyer, Planning Manager. Thank you.
And now I'll ask for folks online, just in the order as I see them. Vida, please go ahead.
Veda Siga, I'm the Area C Director.
And Susan.
Susan Roth, Beaver Creek Director.
Thank you. Bob.
Bob Beckett, Area A, Bamfield Director.
Thank you. And Marilyn.
Good afternoon, Marilyn McEwen, Mayor of Ucluelet.
And Fred. And Fred.
Did you say Fred?
Yes.
It's the volume of noise sound coming from the room as opposed to everybody online is much lower in decibels, so it's hard to actually hear anybody talk in the room. I'm not sure why it is, but it's been like that for a couple of meetings. I don't know if we can fix it, but we got to crank up our volume and crank down our volume. But I'm Fred Boyko, Electoral Area Director for Beaufort. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And Tom.
Yeah, Tom Steer, appointed Director, District of Tofino.
And Karen, might as well go ahead.
Hi, Karen. Hi, I'm Karen Freeby, Protective Services Manager. Thank you.
And Charlie, please go ahead.
Charlie Starrett, Regional Fire Services Manager.
And Heather is in 2 places. She has her computer hooked up to them. She's going to introduce herself, please. And Janice is running our meeting and we'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Janice. Okay, so with that, that brings us to the approval of the agenda. Does anyone have anything to move or add? Go ahead, Director Cote.
Thank you. I'd like to just add, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence today for the passing of Peg Bishop, who was one of the founding members of the Powder Puff Fire Department for Sprout Lake. Her celebration of life is happening right now. So,
all right, thank you. We'll do that immediately after that. I'd like to add maybe a quick check-in or report following the opening of the West Coast transit system, as well as any updates, and I'll provide an update regarding the inclusive governance meeting that just happened. We'll put that. I don't know that it's technically committee reports, but maybe we do it as part of 10.2, just in reports. Okay. We'll rename it general reports. Okay, do we have someone who's willing to move that, or do they have any other additions? Thank you, Director Roth, seconded by Director Siga. Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, no, I don't declare the motion carried. Sorry, that's who I am. All those in favor? The motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to a moment of silence. So before we begin, is there anything you wanted to say first, Penny?
just that Peg Bishop has been a founding member in our community that really stood up in times of need when the women pulled together at Sprout Lake and created the Powder Puff Fire Department. Yeah, she's been someone that I've recognized in the community for many years. She's always attended fire department functions. The Harold Bishop Fire Hall is named after her husband, who was chief, and her recent passing is very moving for our community. So firemen are attending her celebration of life right now today. So my respect goes out to her family and the fire department.
Okay. Thank you. Out of respect, we'll start a moment of silence now. Thank you. Okay, so with that, that brings us to item 3, which are declarations. Does anyone have any gifts or conflict of interest or apparent conflict of interest? All right, seeing none, we'll move into the next item, the adoption of minutes item. Oh, sorry, Fred, please go ahead.
Sorry, I wanted to declare a conflict of interest with item 9.1.A for alpha due to proximity. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Boyko. All right, I've made note of that. That'll bring us to item 4A. This is the adoption of minutes, the Board of Directors meeting minutes from March 27th, 2024. Moved by Director Roth, seconded by Director Siga. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. All right, that brings us to item B, which is the Salmon Beach Committee meeting dated March 14th, 2024. Director Siga, would you like to move? Yep. Seconded by Director Roth. Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to item C, Agricultural Development Committee meeting dated March 19th, 2024. Director Cote, would you like to move?
So moved.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Roth, thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried, thank you. All right, that brings us to item 5. We do not have any petitions or delegations or presentations slated. That brings us to item 6, which is correspondence for action. So this looks to be a letter of support for the Riders of Alberni Valley's application for land use permit. So would anyone like to introduce this or speak to it? No? Yeah, please go ahead, Jenny.
Yeah, I can definitely give a quick overview. It looks like we've got a very enthusiastic group of volunteers who are looking to put in an application to do some trail development and maintenance. This will provide no requirements from the ACRD. They're just looking for a letter of support. They do not require a letter of support to submit their application. I believe they're also asking for support from the city for their application. We've been in discussion with Rove, and we're hoping to have them participate in the upcoming regional parks working group, because I think their enthusiasm is wonderful and we can use that kind of energy. So if the board chooses to pass that motion, or if not, either way, we can communicate that they can proceed with their application because it's independent of ourselves.
Thank you for that. Rove is such a good name. Director Haggard, go ahead.
I'd like to make the motion, please. I'd like to move that the Alberni Clay Park Regional District Board of Directors provide a letter of support for Riders of Alberni Valley's application for a land use agreement with the province of British Columbia to maintain and possibly build multi-use trails on Crown land above and around the Quina Trail system.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Sparrow. Any further comments? Director Boyko and then Director Siga.
Yes, thank you, Chair. What does multi-use trails mean? Are we predicting bicycles, walkers, horses, ATVs? Like, what's the definition here, just to make sure everyone's on the same page? Thank you.
I'll speak to that. I don't know specifically what Rove means, but they are a riders association. So my understanding they're mostly into mountain biking, and they're looking to do mountain bike trail development in the areas where those exist. But again, the question would go to the organization. We have our own definition of multi-use trail when we're talking about trails within our services, but I don't think they have a defined version.
Thank you. Director Siga?
Thank you. I'm familiar with mountain bike trail development. My son was certainly involved in it. It does tend to cut through in sometimes environmentally sensitive areas, and I just we're not requiring the same degree of environmental examination on our trails as we do for private citizens developing their own property. So I'm just wondering if perhaps they could have a lens of if they get the approvals and do start developing, if they could have an environmental lens to determine if there are any sensitive areas that need to be paid attention to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Director Sparrow, go ahead.
Thank you for that. Maybe in regards to Director Boyko's comment here, there is a paragraph here near the end. So just imagine the Candy Store area as the first thing people traveling down the hump, seeing the outdoor recreation facilities of the hole in the wall, and extensive trail networks for hikers, walkers, and cyclists, both mountain bikes and using upper trails, and recreational cyclists, and family using log terrain trails. So I assume if that is their statement, then they are talking about non-motorized vehicles as their idea behind riding.
We could ask Rove to come and do a presentation to the board. Really, this is their organization and their direction on what they do. So I really couldn't speak more to that.
We could do both too. We could support the work that they're doing and then ask them to maybe come in and give us some information about what they do. We can do both for sure. Director Roth, go ahead.
I think that we may have a problem. So I would rather listen to the group first and have the opportunity to ask questions before moving forward with this. I just don't want there to be a problem afterwards because we've already got so many problems around trail use.
Okay, what is the will of the board? Director Haggard, go ahead.
I would like for us to vote on the motion, and if it's not approved, then we can try it again if they come in.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried, thank you. We can follow up and ask them to come in though. All right, that brings us to item 7, which is correspondence for information. Would anyone like to pull anything out? I spy some good news at the end. Director Cote, please go ahead.
Yes, so E, BC Transit, expansion funding for the West Coast Transit Service. So I'd like to pull that out.
Yeah.
Just need to find it. Yep. Have to catch up. So this is a really welcome news for coming to the regional district and the West Coast. Yesterday, I attended the ribbon cutting for the transit bus, which in my opinion is going to change many lives out there in a most beneficial way. It's been part of the Health Network's identified action tables areas where number 1 was transit, so that all areas of health are covered by that. I'm just very excited about this. Thank you.
Yeah, this is very good news. So seeing that there's a willingness on the part of BC Transit to interact is a very good thing. I think we can continue maybe pressing the province for a little more attention. Never hurts. Any further comments or questions or anything else regarding the correspondence for information? Okay, we could have a motion to receive. Thank you, Director Sparrow. Seconded by Director Cote. Thank you. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, that brings us into item 8A, which is request for decisions and bylaws. So Karen, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Before you today is a provincial grant with funding opportunity from the Community Emergency Program Fund. It's administered through UBCM, and it's an opportunity to apply for the Public Notification and Evacuation Route Planning Program. We've extended an invitation to the City of Port Alberni, Sashot First Nations, and Huipachesset First Nations to become partners with this project. And this grant allows partners to collaborate on submitting one regional application for up to $30,000 each organization. The intention behind this grant is to receive funding that will develop a comprehensive emergency communication strategy to support the Alberni Valley, Banfield, and Long Beach electoral areas. We often recognize that communication is a challenge during disasters, and so by developing this strategy, we hope to improve efficiencies and effectiveness and try to reduce miscommunication. This strategy will develop procedures on who to contact and under what circumstances, to develop key hazard-specific public messages and response messages, and standardizing those messages to reduce confusion. It'll pre-write templates for emergency declarations to quicken the process if ever the time should come, and it will develop graphics to bolster communication. So just the objectives of this grant are to ensure that we are communicating properly with the right information in a timely manner, reducing miscommunication, and expediting communication between agencies and to the public. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Director Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. So a question through the chair. I'm interested in knowing if we're going by the existing evacuation plan that we have and just implementing more instruction, or how we're dealing with that, because I have been bringing up to this board continually that there's an access at the back of Sprout Lake that is identified in our evacuation plan as a route. And the province is talking about deactivating that road, pulling out a Kurt's Crib, which would eliminate that access and potentially create a hazard for our community where we couldn't escape through that evacuation route. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Do we have an answer for that? Karen?
Yes, this grant is not focusing on the evacuation route plan. It's focusing on public communication and how we notify the public, as well as how we communicate between government to government, and to ensure that we're communicating effectively in regards to our graphics and our communication. So it's not addressing the evacuation route plans directly.
Follow up?
I'm sorry, but in my opinion, having it in our evacuation plan, that is giving direction as to how to escape in a circumstance where there's a forced, interface fire or other problematic, a slide or something along the highway. The West Coast would be cut off. So if that's shouldn't be part of our communication plan, then I think signage should be part of that, and either correcting or getting on to the province regarding our evacuation plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bocek. I have Directors Boyko, then Roth, and then Sparrow.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just gonna show you guys something here. Can you see that? Is that gonna zoom in? That's not working. Hold on a second.
Yeah, if you hold it against your chest or in front of your face, it will stick into the. Oh, maybe not. I don't know what you're using to. Tsunami printout though, isn't it?
Okay, Alberni Claycott Regional District, April 2011. Tsunami evacuation alert with map. How many times are we going to reproduce the same information for the public? The roads do not change, the threats do not change. I understand what Director Cote is bringing up. We need more routes out of every area, not just Sprout Lake. We need one over Horn Lake. We need one at Comox, Maine, all these other routes. But making more signs and making things that change or graphics, I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but we've been reproducing the same stuff over and over again for decades. There, you can actually see it now. My question is, what's going to be different this time? You can even see the date on that right there. I just keep this in hand because I found this in my parents' house, and it's the same information over and over again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Boyko.
I can chat to that a little bit. So I do have that sitting in front of me, so I do have it. So thank you. And we will be updating the evacuation, the inundation, specifically for tsunamis, the brochure. It's on the work plan to do in 2024. So that, as you said, was 2011. So it's an old document. So we're looking to update it. This plan that I'm talking about talks more, not just about tsunamis, but it also talks about droughts. It talks about heat events. It talks about weather events. So, and it's what I'm noticing is when we're communicating with the public, we have to say the same information over and over again, like you say. And so to develop key consistent messages that we're sharing, that the city, Sashat, and Hupecheset and ourselves are sharing, is really important for our community for them to understand the risk perception. And unfortunately, it is things we need to say over and over and over again so that the messages are understood by the public. So it is different than the document that you're showing me. This would also include who do we talk to, government to government, on what circumstances. So if it's a tsunami advisory or a flood advisory, what does that trigger? What communication does that trigger at that point? And who do we need to talk to? And what do we tell the public in those moments?
Okay, thank you for that. That brings us to Directors Roth and then Sparrow. Director Sparrow?
Thank you for that. It says here it's going to be a public notification plan and communication strategy. How far are we going to go with this in regards to, like, I understand tsunami is a long-term event, but if we have the roadblock off between here and Parksville, are you going to notify us that? Or is it going to be like a 24 hours notification? Where does the strategy start? You notify people like from here to Sutton Pass there's a snowstorm, do you put it up then, or do you wait for it to just close down for a day? How do you activate this? Thank you.
So, sorry, just to understand, you're talking specifically if the road, Highway 4 should close?
I guess I'm talking about, is a public notification plan and communication strategy, what is the delay tactic going to be? You're gonna wait for a day before you start communicating to people, or if there's a rock slide right now, would you communicate right now to people? Like, what triggers the communication strategy?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you for that. And that is part of why we're developing this strategy, is to determine when do we need to communicate and when do we not need to communicate, because so it would say under, if we had a flood advisory, these are the people we need to tell, these are the people we need to talk to, and this is the timeline in which it should be done. But perhaps there are more minor emergencies where it's important not to necessarily cry wolf all the time, because then people become complacent. So understanding when to communicate and when not to communicate is really important. So that is what this communication strategy will partly try to resolve, and think these things through, so that when these situations happen, we have a plan of action that we can follow and a process to follow, rather than trying to do it in the moment. Something like a road closure, we would communicate that very quickly. Something more like a storm is coming and it might be rainy would be maybe not necessary to communicate to the public to the same extent, obviously.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to Director Siga, then Director Roth, then Director Boyko. Director Siga, go ahead.
I am totally in favor of this, because communication is historically a real problem with any events that are happening, and including the road closures that happened at Cameron Lake. We were depending on the Ministry of Transportation, and somehow that didn't filter down to the population. So I found that I was posting just so that the local people had the information. And I think it's important to have a template of who, in which event, who gets communicated to, who is to release the information, to what population is it being released. Those kind of action plans are pretty critical in emergencies.
Okay, thank you. Back to Director Roth and then Director Boyko.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to know if this will differentiate between, the communication between a wildfire and tsunami alert, because they can be quite opposite, the direction. So I think it's really important to get that out there. So will it look at those and let people know that it could be very different?
We will be creating hazard-specific communication, and then taking an all-hazards approach. So definitely looking at, the bigger scale and what communication we're saying. You're right, different hazards are going to produce different instructions and different communications. So we need to know what is the best form of communication as far as what platforms we use and what messages we give, depending on what hazards we have.
Thank you for that. Okay, that brings us to Dr. Boyko. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Karen, thank you for the clarification. So this is more of a planning spreadsheet, flow sheet, that something happens of a certain magnitude, whatever it is, then we do this. Am I kind of correct on that?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. So we're not actually, what I think that we all experienced last summer with the road closures is the information came out, but it was too late to be useful unless it was a multi-day event. So for example, if you're going to Nanaimo and you left on the road and the road closed, you would be stuck on the road at Cameron Lake and you wouldn't know it was closed until traffic blacked out. So Facebook was more effective and efficient than any communication from any government agency, be it Drive BC or ACRD or anything. How can we make that communication, whatever it is, maybe a flashing sign like the one they have out at Sprout Lake when you're going to Sutton Pass that says, hey, the road's closed? Because that's actually triggered me going out there a few times to say something's happening. Maybe we can have something like that going up the hump and say, hey, there's a problem that could be triggered as you're driving. So if you're a single person, you can't pull up a Twitter account or something like that. That's more useful to me personally, and I think a lot of the public, actually that came from one of our public members at one of our town halls, that's way more useful than sending out tweets and Facebook stuff and stuff like that. So I'd like to focus future energies on more useful, timely communication methods, whatever they are, in addition to a flow sheet that says we have a earthquake in Taiwan last week of a 7.5. Do we care? That kind of thing. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Dr. Haggard?
Thank you. Thank you, Director Boyko. Just to respond to your questions, we have advocated to the Ministry of Transportation for much faster communication. I think that was our biggest complaint during the road closures last summer. So I think they have heard that. And I'm sure that Karen and her department has also forwarded that complaint to them as well. So it's always going to be a work in progress. And as I'm sure you're aware, they had multiple wildfires last summer. So there was lots of activities going on. But I do believe that they have heard us. They need much quicker communication. And also we've been advocating for, as you said, one of those flashing signs. They did have one during the road closures up by the hub, but we're wanting to get one closer down, maybe by Coons Country County. So again, I think they've listened to that as well. Thank you.
Yeah, like one of those permanent ones. Yeah. Dr. Kotek, please go ahead. Oh, sorry, Thomas first. Please go ahead, Dr. Steer.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. I'd like to make the motion at this time that the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District ACRD Board of Directors support the grant funding application to the Union of BC Municipalities Community Emergency Preparedness Program Fund for up to $30,000 for public notification and evacuation route planning with interested grant partners.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Seconded by quite a few people. Any further comments? Dr. Kotek, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just noticing also that this is the ACRD application, the City of Port Alberni, TSHAP First Nation, and Ipachesset First Nation can also make application for $30,000 also. So just one question, would we be looking at working with these partners on this same plan? Thank you.
I can answer that. Yeah, yes, we would be. Our hope would be to create a collaborative, comprehensive plan. That's the same plan sitting on all our shelves. So we just helps with consistency and messaging and all of joining together, which we would do in an emergency.
Great, thank you. Follow up?
Just one comment. Thank you. The reader board at Sprout Lake is manually, you have to go there and put the information in it by person. And I noticed on my way to the West Coast, the one by Kennedy Lake is missing. It's no longer there. I always use it as a marker and wasn't there. And yeah, it would be great if we could have that. I think that it would be a huge benefit for all local governments across BC to have those reader boards here and there. We could have 911, emergency messages, missing children, you name it. We could have it all on there. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any further comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. That brings us to item B, which is a request for decision regarding a formal lease application. Jenny, please go ahead.
Yes, so we are finalizing the lease for the PWT Transit to lease space at the Long Beach Airport for the new West Coast Transit bus service. It is a nominal amount of $10, and we will do a transfer between services from West Coast Transit to Long Beach Airport to cover the lease fees. Happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Dr. Roth and then Dr. Steer.
I'm curious, is this on Crown land? And if it is, does the mechanism allow for something that's not airport use?
That's a good question. The airport was given to us through the federal government, and as long as we operate it as an airport, we are able to zone and manage the lands at the Long Beach Airport as we see fit.
Thank you.
Great. And Dr. Steer.
I'd like to make the motion that the ACRD Board of Directors approve entering into a short-term lease agreement with PWT Transit for lease lot LSL 2024008 at the Long Beach Airport, effective April 1st, 2024 to March 30th, 2025 at a rate of $10 plus GST per year.
I'll second.
Thank you, Director McEwen. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? The motion carried. Thank you. That brings us into item C, request for decision regarding West Coast transit rates bylaw. Jenny, please go ahead.
And more lovely housekeeping items related to our new transit service. So we are looking at establishing the transit rate fees, which are in effect. It took us a little while to set the rates, but so far we are at single ride pass $5.50, day pass $10. You can get a 10 pass booklet for $50, a monthly pass for $100. That is to, the intention is to reduce monthly passes for residents. And we currently are going with free fares for children and students to encourage and support ridership for anyone under 18.
Okay, that was going to be my question, 18 and under. Okay, thank you. Okay, Director Steer, please go ahead.
Yes, I will make the motion, but I would like just a quick question. I know there was some conversation that we were having around potentially looking at senior fares. I know it may not happen right now, but if we can include that in our next review of rates in terms of looking at a seniors fare for the West Coast Transit Service. And if while I'm there, I'll let Director Boyko have a question, and then I'll make the motion.
Okay, we'll come back to you. Director Boyko, please go ahead.
I'm going to second your motion anyway, Tom. With regard to the fares, I'm glad to see they're not too bad. They're realistic for, half-hour rides each way. I'm also happy to see that someone that actually works at 7 or 6:30 in the morning could actually take transit to and from work. So the earlier and later days, I think, is great because that does affect a lot of people up and down the peninsula there and people that I work with. That being said, do we have any preliminary numbers on how many people are actually using these buses? Are they 1% full or 10% full or anything like that yet? Thank you.
That's a great question. I had the same question, and on Monday morning, the number was we had 75 passes sold. So I haven't got the update. It's Wednesday, so I don't know how many more numbers, but over the weekend, so it was just in service for a short bit. And because there are some glitches and we're encouraging riding, there may be some people who are still learning how to purchase the transit passes. So we've got the token transit pass. So as the system is new, when people come on, if they don't know how to use it, then we explain how to use it. But of course, we never want to turn anyone away from transit. So we're sort of doing a lot of education on the first week or so. But I think the ridership is surprisingly good. So that's good.
That was great. Okay, so moved by Director Steer for the first reading and seconded by Director Boyko. Is that correct? Okay, so we'll go with that. So first reading, Director Steer, seconded by Director Boyko. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Your motion carried.
I'll move second reading.
Seconded by Director Cote. Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you.
Move third reading.
Thank you. Seconded by Director McEwen. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried.
And I'll move adoption.
Thank you. And seconded by Director Siga. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Awesome. Okay, so with that, we can probably have updates in the future in regards to how this is going. Would love to see continued communication support for West Coast Transit as well, especially since the more tourists we know can use it, the fewer of their cars that will be on the road, especially getting to the beaches and that sort of thing. Okay, any further comments? See, and we'll move forward into planning matters. It is really important that no one leaves. Except for yes, sorry, Fred, but like especially since that Fred will have to remove himself for this. But okay, so please go ahead, Alex.
Thank you very much. We just have the one item for you today. It's a rezoning application for a property located at 7807 Beaver Creek Road in Beaver Creek area. Bylaw P 1489 would rezone a 0.3 hectare portion of the property located outside of the agricultural land reserve to RA3 district to facilitate a 2-lot subdivision. The proposed subdivision would separate the 2 houses that are currently located on the property. It would not impact the ALR lands on the north side of the lot. The board considered this application a first time at their March 13th meeting, after which the neighbor notification and the public notice advertising process was conducted. No correspondence was received from the public, and at this time, staff recommend that the board give bylaw P 1489 3 readings. Thank you.
I think I turned mine off. There we go. Who would like to? So Director Ross, would you like to go? Please go ahead.
Sure. I'd like to move that bylaw P 1489 Regional District of Alberni Clayoquot Zoning Atlas Amendment Bylaw be read a first time.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Cote. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried.
I'll move a second time.
Thank you. For second reading, do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Sparrow. Any further comments? I will say I did like how it was subdivided, not affected. I don't know if that's a requirement or if it's just clever, but it's or both. Any further comments? You see none? All those in favor? Motion carried.
And a third time.
And seconded by, thank you, Director Siga. Any further comments? Seeing none. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so to be third reading, and then there's a process of now let's, yeah. Probably half an hour. We just have area reports. With Tracy at the front. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for staying too. Okay, so did we get to? No, it was Director Seeger. Yeah. Okay, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Alrighty, so that brings us into bringing Director. Oh, yeah, Director Boyko. Thank you, Janice. Okay, that brings us to staff reports, of which there are none, I don't believe. And then that brings us into what is now called other reports, and we have 2 items. Can't remember the order in which we put them. One was an update on West Coast Transit, and then the other was an update on transit and on the inclusive government. So I saw the pictures from the West Coast Transit opening, and I'm really thankful for everybody who was able to make it. Thank you, Penny, for writing up there. I was not able to make it because I was talking about 150 municipal staffers for the ministry. So with that, would anyone like to speak first? Cote, you want to start?
I jumped in with staff to go get up there, so got to ride with I'm not sure what his position is. Yeah, okay, so the operations manager, Eddie, and Heather Thompson. So it was wonderful talking about the transit and how it's going to affect people's lives up on the West Coast. And the representation was First Nations, Biosphere Trust, Health Network, the municipalities, or pardon me, the incorporated areas, our Long Beach rep, Director Sega, and Parks. So there was a full complement of representation from the community, and everybody was very thrilled. We had a bus there. We all got to go in and sit in the seats. I wouldn't want a long trip to Alberta, but it would be great for for half hour. Ask questions around pets being allowed on. So support pets are allowed, but at this time, that's BC Transit rules. You're not allowed to bring your pets on. There's going to be bike racks put onto the buses which will allow people to bring their bikes along, which is really important. And we're identifying the opportunities now that are going to be provided for that community. So work opportunities, getting together with family, going from one community to the other to have lunch with family or friends, or just a coffee, or just a sightsee, to go back and forth, medical appointments. There's so much that this is going to be bringing forward to those communities that is just amazing. The bus driver, talked with her. What's her name? I forget her name. Anyway, something like Amy, but it's not. Wonderful person. She's just absolutely thrilled, and said that in half a day, the stories that were coming from people were covering every aspect of why this bus is so important to that community. So looking forward to more data. Asked for if transit could keep track of the number of tourists who was using the transit, where they were getting on, where they were getting off, ages, and that type of thing. So we're really looking forward to that data coming forward in the future. Marcy DeWitt said the Health Network, working with the communities, would like to have numbers every 3 months or 6 months, more than annually. So just thrilled with this. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Cote. Next up is Dr. Siga, I think. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I think Penny.
Or was Dr. McEwen first. Sorry. Please go ahead, Dr. McEwen.
I'm sorry. It's really like Director Boyko pointed out, it's really hard to make out some of the speaking in the boardroom. But yeah, I think Director Cote covered it nicely. And yeah, we're thrilled to have the service here on the West Coast. It's going to be a real health advantage to the people here. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Dr. McEwen, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to mention the data collection as well. And Marcy from Alberni Clayoquot Health Network is also interested in stories, how the transit system has improved people's lives and in what ways. So anybody that has stories from friends or people that they know that have utilized the system, and Marcy would really like those anecdotal stories to be forwarded to her.
Thank you, Dr. McEwen. Next up, I have Drs. Boyko and Steer.
Thank you, Chair. One thing about introducing new transit areas to the West Coast, and now it's being discussed for Beaver Creek and Sprout Lake and other places as well. BC Bill 44, transit-oriented areas, has some very severe regulations regarding housing in the future with regard to transit areas. So, for example, depending on how far you are from transit stations and places, you have minimum heights of buildings. So we could be potentially being forced to have new zoning and minimum 6-story apartments around transit stations. Is this something that's being looked at by the planning department and anybody else? Because this is becoming law right now and everyone's being forced into it. Not just Victoria and Vancouver, but lots of little towns as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex was waving at me hurriedly. Thank you. Please go ahead.
I'd be happy to answer that. I know that the transit-oriented development that the province is requiring in areas where there's high frequency of transit, including 7 days a week, and that really limits it to the more developed areas in the province. I know that there aren't any areas within the city of Port Alberni that meet that requirement either. So, I mean, if there's any changes to what the legislation looks like in the future, to expand where that increased development would be, then we could report back to the board. But as of right now, it would not impact our area.
Thank you. Dr. Steer, please go ahead, and then we'll have Dr. Roth.
Yeah, thank you. It was a great day yesterday, and I wanted to really thank President McCarthy for graciously hosting the event out at the Pacific Rim Visitor Center there. And I really did want a big shout out to the ACRD staff. And this was a massive collaborative effort that's been going on for years, as we know. And we certainly recognize the hurdles that had been presented, and really the board and support of the board and the staff really were able to pivot and make this happen. This is not unprecedented, but certainly the amount of work and collaboration that went into this to make this service possible really was fantastic. And I wanted to thank the board and the staff personally for the amount of work and dedication. And specifically, well, I don't want to single anyone out, but the staff were incredible, from our CAO down to our manager of operations and all those in between. So thank you all for this support. This is actually a generational event that has happened for many years to come. So thanks once again.
Great. Next up is Dr. Roth.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the transit for Beaver Creek, just because it was brought up. But a lot of people say to me that they would rather have a walkway or a place to ride their bike along Beaver Creek Road than a bus, because we don't even have that. So I just wanted to put it out there that it would be healthier too if we had a walkway, especially from Gill School to the Beaver Creek Market, because that's a really bad area for people to walk or ride their bike. Thanks.
Thank you for that. I think that kind of active transportation aspect is just as important. And it doesn't seem like it's too hilly either. It's not too bad.
Yeah, a lot of people in my area is against it. So
okay, well, we'll see what's what.
Mhm.
With that in mind, are there any other comments? The only question I had for Jenny, I heard that there may be the accommodation of like bikes. Are we thinking one of those quick racks or something like that?
That's typical, the ones that are on the front of a bus and that usually allow for 2 bicycles. That is what we'd be looking at.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, with that, if we could have a motion to receive the reports. Thank you, Dr. Cote, seconded by Dr. Sparrow. All those in favor? A motion carried, thank you. All right, so that brings us to 10.2B, which is just my quick update and maybe some supplementals from others regarding the inclusive governance meeting that happened last week. So we were supposed to have a meeting on, what day was it? Well, last week, anyway. Yes, I think it was Thursday. And plenty of folks did show up. We did have Chief Ken Watts, as well as the CAO for Tlaoquiet. And we did know that the chief, Brandy Lauder, was en route to the meeting, but she got some tragic news that one of the hereditary leaders from her community had passed away. And so it was felt at the time, despite so many of us showing up for the meeting, that it was only appropriate to postpone the meeting. So we didn't really cover much in the way of ground. So the inclusive governance meeting is going to hopefully be rescheduled. But now I'm thinking of just making sure that we can put together some good information with EcoPlan, a good briefing note, a good presentation. And I may go out and just bilaterally present to each of the councils, just to keep them informed as to what was going on, just to kind of stick with the EcoPlan timeline and go from there. So maybe online, maybe in person, depending on what's available and allowable for their purposes. But we would still like to have a larger meeting to discuss just the processes around inclusive governance. We'll know more after AVICC as well, and hopefully we'll get more information. We had quite a few people show up, so if anybody wanted to add anything, please go ahead. Dr. Cote?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, it's really very good to see us all come together to discuss these issues. I did have a conversation with the 2 representatives from EcoPlan and invited them to AVICC to participate or be referenced, I guess, at our AVICC inclusive governance session. So hopefully they'll be able to make it. There's passes for them at the door. Yeah, it's very regretful that the Hawaiian had had a loss, and yeah, we are all very respectful and look forward to being able to meet in the future. Thanks.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's have a quick motion to receive the report. Thank you, Director Siga, seconded by Director Cote. Any further comment? Seeing none, I want to thank everyone who were able to show up. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us into area reports, 10.3. So electoral area A, Banfield, Director Beckett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Erg will be presenting to the Banfield Community Affairs Society meeting this Monday regarding the Banfield Development Plan process, which will allow for community involvement and discussions leading up to the OCP review. Jenny and her team are working hard to continue the dialogue regarding the community sewer project, and that's moving along well with lots of input from the community, and I appreciate staff on that. And we're currently recruiting for the Banfield Parks Commission, looking for some volunteers to step up and assist Cheryl Mass with the good work that they're doing in our community. And that's my report, sir.
All right, thank you. That brings us to item B, electoral area B, Beaufort. Director Boyko.
Thank you, Chair. Beaufort's nice and quiet like usual. We're looking forward to getting the log train trail officially multi-use. We're having our next town hall on the 21st, approximately 11 days from now. Everyone's welcome to attend. Beaver Creek Hall, 2 p.m. Lots of things being discussed there, future transit plans, etc., etc. And that's all I got. Have a wonderful day.
Great, thank you. That brings us to item C, electoral area C, Long Beach. Director Siga.
Thank you. Of course, the big news on the West Coast is the initiation of the transportation system, and congratulations to all of the people who put this together. It's an amazing asset. Operations manager Eddie Kunderman did a great job of including making everything inclusive and leading the opening ceremony. So thank you.
Great. Next up is electoral area D, Sprout Lake.
Thank you. So quite a bit's been happening in Sprout Lake these days. The active transportation study that is now closed. I've heard a lot of reports back from the community from people that were upset around the alternate route or alternate traffic on one lane with bike lanes on both sides. It just seemed that the proposals that came forward don't match our community. And that's quite evident by the amount of people that responded to myself and to the community association as well, saying that they didn't understand why this was coming, these type of recommendations. So a question to staff: when are we going to be doing a report out about that, or open house or community engagement? That question. And then I also have been receiving calls and emails from residents regarding docks that are being built on Sprout Lake. One in particular that is has a boathouse on it with curtains. Looks like someone's living there. So like if in the future to have a report from staff on what's happening at Sprout Lake and how we can deal with that. And if the regional district can't, then should it be going to the province or to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Minister of Environment, depending on what the area is. Also, it would be either the province or Timber West, depending on which side of the NN you are on. Also, I've been participating with the SOMAS Fish Flow Committee regarding the weir plates and the dams. The weir plates at Sprout Lake River and the dams at Dam and Saddle Dam at Great Central Lake. So these are owned by Catalyst. And we've been asking for a management plan coming from them. So far as to ask for, we sent Catalyst a letter requesting to install the Sprout Lake weir plates for the 2024 season. And it was put forward by Fisheries and Oceans Canada, BC Ministry of WLRS, Kupachesset First Nation, Chishat First Nation, BC Hydro, and the regional district with myself as their representative. We have yet to hear back from Catalyst on whether or not they're going to be putting these plates in, but I have brought forward to the regional district through our budget session that I would really like us to be looking at water management. I think it's extremely important. I can't stress how much it's going to affect our communities. This year with such a low snowpack, the lakes are already down. So we need to make sure that we have a management plan and reserve the water. And I'm sure that Sprout Lake residents aren't going to be happy to hear that, you know, everybody should be doing their part and using water management plans going forward. So restrictive waterings, and everybody needs to do their part. I think that we're going to really see the effects this year. And that's all I have. Thank you. I had some questions for staff there. Thank you.
Thank you. So maybe we can do the questions for staff after the receiving reports. Okay. That brings us to Electoral Area E, Beaver Creek, Director Ross.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that one of the people that live in my area was stabbed several times. She works in a pub at the end of Beaver Creek Road, and a youth stabbed her. I believe the youth was caught. But I'm wondering if there's things that we can do, like thinking ahead about violence in more rural areas. And although this was closer to the city and it was within the city limits, it is affecting us because it's one of us. Not that all of it doesn't affect us, but I'm trying to think ahead. So I'm just putting it out there, just wondering if there's anything we can do to stop that violence. And also that our town hall meeting for Beaver Creek as well as Beaufort is on the 21st, which is a Sunday at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Ross. Okay, and finally we have Electoral Area F, Cherry Creek, Director Sparrow.
Well, thank you for that. In Cherry Creek, a few things are going on this month and early next month. So on the April 18th at 6 p.m., the Cherry Creek Water Board's having their annual AGM. And at that AGM, they'll be presenting the results of the survey they had regarding the conversion study they were going to do. Hopefully we'll see everybody there. They have big implications for the taxes going forward either way. So hopefully we'll be there. I'll be asking a few questions for that. And then on May 1st at 6:30 p.m., the Cherry Creek Community Hall has their AGM. So if you see the signs out front, be careful which one you're looking at because they're 2 weeks away and they're side-by-side buildings. So don't get them confused. As far as I go for my town hall meetings, I'm going to wait till these meetings are over with before I put one on because these are more important and I wish people would show up to the AGM because it affects the Cherry Creek for decades to come. And I have one weird public service announcement, if I may. I do a lot of walking out in the bush, quite a bit of walking in the mornings, and I've been finding campfires going when I'm walking from the night before. So I do what I can to mitigate what I can do with them, but there are open campfires left overnight, and I'm finding them in the morning. So with the weather we have, it's getting drier. People need more cognizant even this time of the year because we don't need to have another fire close by. So I am.
Thank you. Maybe we want to contemplate some kind of just quick signs that we can post up in some of those places. Okay, with that, that brings us to item G, City of Port Alberni, Director Haggard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to announce that City Council adopted their 2024 to 2028 financial budget on Monday night's meeting. The final tax rate for households is at 9.26%. I think at the last reporting, we were at just over 11%, but because of the non-market change, we're able to make it down to 9.26%. So every little bit helps. And council is excited to be going to ABICC this weekend. I think any opportunity for learning and relationship building with our peers is very important. So I'm excited about the weekend and excited to see Penny there. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Next up is District of Tofino, Director Steer.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, a few things in Tofino. We last night's council meeting, the water master plan, which was presented earlier in the year, and another component to that was our water conservation program. And there are some bylaws that we enacted supporting that program. We know it's it is one of our biggest issues that we're facing in Tofino. So that was wonderful to have that presentation. Our second apartment of our Tofino Housing Corporation headwaters, those applications are out there, and we're looking to have those apartments filled and people in them by the end of summer here. So another great one. We, not this meeting, but the one before, council elected to opt into the Short-Term Rental Accommodations Act, Bill 35. So that took place. And then we had graciously, we had the Tourism Tofino annual general meeting, which was attended by Minister Popham of Tourism. She's our Minister of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport, and our MLA, Josie Osborne, and the Executive Director of Indigenous Tourism BC. We're all guest speakers there. It was an incredible turnout and lots of support. And interesting, the shift in direction in terms of destination stewardship as opposed to the straight marketing of our programs out here on the West Coast in tourism, specifically in Tofino. So it was a great event attended by at least there was 100 representations at that annual general meeting. And that's about it.
That brings us to the District of Euclid for Director McEwen.
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate that the West Coast Transit event yesterday was a really great celebration, and we're so excited to have that finally on the coast. I know personally I've been working on getting that happening for almost 10 years. So just super happy to see it finally there. It does need a bit of tweaking. Currently, there is no bus stop in Millstream, which is a bit of a gap because there's a lot of people that live in Millstream that would use that service. And currently there is no stop at the beach. And I think there should be one at least at Long Beach. It does stop at Tahistanis and Esowista, but not at the beach. So anyway, it's a great service to start, and it could use a bit of tweaking, but excited to have that. We have our final budget meeting next Tuesday, so we'll see what our final percentage works out to. Last I looked at it, it was some hovering around 15% for residential. So we'll see what the end result is on Tuesday after that meeting. And looking forward to ABICC and to seeing everybody there. That's it for me.
Thank you, Director McEwen. Okay, so lastly is Hawaii First Nations. So I have a few things. So I just reiterate the Pachina Bay Music Festival is going to be on, I think, the 19th to the 21st of July. That's my birthday weekend, so I won't be anywhere near anywhere. But that's something that is actually becoming quite a highlight of our summer. So if there's any interest, that's there. We are continuing on with the Hawaii Framework Plan, which is the master planning project that we're undertaking with our with the properties that we own in the Banfield area, but also potentially with some of Hawaii's own TSL-based assets as well. That's something that kicked off very early. So we had a pair of engagement sessions that were quite fairly well attended. One of them was actually concurrent with an ACRD engagement session on the sewer project, which is the next item I'm going to be bringing up. But we've already reached out to ACRD to make sure that we're coordinating our engagement sessions not on the same day, so that we're not splitting purpose at that point. A lot of good bilateral engagement with the regional district on that. We just want to reiterate, this is the introduction. We're hoping to introduce the vision the next time we go out in engagement sessions, which will hopefully provide for us something for people to get their teeth on and really chew and provide some good feedback on. On the sewer system, I think one thing that we need to look at, and I've had a conversation with Director Beckett about this, is what our options may be moving forward, especially with contingency planning and people's budgets and all those concerns. So I think that's something that we should probably have with members of Howett administration involved as well. I know that it's a joint project with the Science Center as well, so if we can get all that moved together, that would be good. We want to be responsive to changing times and difficulties that are coming up. Third is the Banfield Road Reconciliation Project is still undergoing. We're still under warranty with the people who built the road itself. So they've been principally the ones who are overseeing the code fill on any types of any potholes or anything that's been occurring. And now they're starting to do the hot fill for a more permanent fix on some of those potholes. A few of the first bridges, however, on the road between Port Alberni and Banfield, they're in such a state that they're always going to create many of these potholes because of the state of the bridge itself. And fixing it would mean replacing the entire bridge, we think. So that's something that we're going to look at on a more long-term basis, and we'll just keep making sure that that's something that's well thought out. The Umixu Mother Center, which is something that's going on in the Port Alberni city area, is something that Howett is continuing to see progress on. We will likely be completing construction before winter, but we'll see how that goes. And we were fortunate in finding the funding to make sure that that continues as planned. We'll see how the logistics go with actually getting the skilled labor to come in and finish it, but I think that's kind of off. And recently, at the beginning of this week, we had a VIP from Nikashi Corporation in Tokyo come in to tour Howett timber tiles operations, which are active in Port Alberni as well as looking at our forestry. Just letting folks know that the chairman is very interested in the capacity of the entire Alberni Valley and region in regards to forestry and value-added products. So it's something that is interesting because Mihachi is like the preeminent finishing and interior design store. So not like lamps and sofas, but like how you finish your house and that sort of thing. They're pretty much the number one. So it's a very large country. So there's some good economic development benefits there. And we'll go from there, which also reminds me, I have to talk to the checklist. So with that, I think I'll leave it at that. I don't believe there are any more. Director Beckett, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Jack. I just wanted to acknowledge, having driven the Banfield Road a number of times since it's been completed, how fortunate we are that Chief Robert Dennis and now your council had the foresight, the vision, and the tenacity to persevere and have that project done. What an improvement for all of us in our communities to be able to travel safely and comfortably back and forth. So thank you again for that.
No worries. It's something that hopefully helps all of us and brings us into the 20th century at least. So let's make sure that we capitalize on it in a good way moving forward. Okay, so with that, I don't believe we have anybody from Tokwat, Wachusett, or Yushuhat, although I do echo the thanks that has been stated already for President McCarthy giving the opening for the West Coast Transit. So it's something I'll mention next time I see him. And with that, we have a motion to receive the reports. Thank you, Director Cote, and seconded by Director Sparrow. Thank you. All those in favor? The motion carried. And Director Cote, did you have any motions you wanted to move out of this?
Just the questions to staff regarding the active transportation study for Sprout Lake and any updates on docks where we should be going.
I can give a quick update on the active transportation plan. So currently still doing the engagement process, talking with First Nations Mosaic about some of the potential concepts. I don't think the open house, the next one, has been announced yet, but we're looking at mid-May, like I think maybe the evening of May 15th. But I looked on our Let's Connect and it hasn't been promoted yet. So you'll see that coming out. And again, that's getting communities' input on, what are the different options. Yeah, so that's where we're at. Still lots of community engagement to happen for that one.
I did talk to the EcoPlan people at the transportation opening on the West Coast, and gave them a little bit of insight as to what was happening in the community. Looking forward to that rollout to the community.
Yeah. Anything on dogs? Go ahead.
Yeah, happy to. So the ACRD zoning bylaw has no regulations for dogs, but we do regulate the zoning bylaw does regulate the merge of float homes, for example, and there are development permit requirements for any new dock or waterfront construction on the lake. So I know that our bylaw enforcement team is aware of the most recent one and is following up on it, and we will continue to work with the province where appropriate to liaise on how to deal with these. But I will highlight that the development permit regulations that are in place are the same for both the provincial side and the side where the lake bed's owned by Mosaic.
I had a question coming out of this. Is there any overlap between active transportation and what's going on with the accessibility committee? Are those things congruent?
I can speak to that a little bit, or Heather can. We have separate contracts for them, but Heather's been engaging all of the staff and everyone in the accessibility and looking at identifying areas. There definitely is overlap, because obviously as we develop trail networks and even our public infrastructure at parks, looking at making sure that everything is accessible.
I can just add to that. Our accessibility public engagement survey ended last week, and there was a lot of comments on providing accessible trails and parks for those with mobility issues. So I think as we move forward in our accessibility plan, that's a lens that we need to think about in all the work that we do going forward. So it'll be incorporated. Yeah.
Okay, that's great to hear. Thank you. Okay, so I think that ends us for 10.3. I don't believe we have any unfinished business in 11. Item 12, I don't believe we have any late business either. Are there any questions in the email address or anywhere else?
No, we don't have any questions received by email, and there's nobody in the audience. I just want to acknowledge that there was a comment in Zoom from a member watching, highlighting that it's been hard to hear. And so Rich, our IT technician, is looking into that, and we'll try and figure that out for next meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, if we could have a motion to recess the meeting to go into the hospital district meeting. Thank you, Director Segas, seconded by Director Sparrow. All those in favor? Motion carried. All right, Madam Chair, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to call the Hospital District Board of Directors meeting to order. Firstly, I'd like to recognize that we're conducting this meeting on the unceded traditional territories of Hukacheset and Shuswap First Nations. And also like to acknowledge we have directors calling in from other territories. I'd like to acknowledge those territories and express our gratitude and our respect. A notice to attendees and delegates that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed to YouTube on the Regional District website. We have an agenda in front of us, and we do have one late item, which is an West Coast General Hospital Foundation invitation on May the 2nd at the casino, and I'll be talking more about that under correspondence. Is there any other late items from directors? Seeing none, can we get a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Director Sika, second by Director Cote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Is there any conflict of interest? Seeing none, we'll go to the adoption of minutes. We have our special Board of Directors meeting on March 13, 2024. Is there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I get a motion that the minutes of the special Alberni Clayoquot Regional Hospital District Board of Directors meeting held on March 13, 2024 be adopted? Moved by Director Cote, second by Director Sparrow. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the Board of Directors meeting dated March 13, 2024. Is there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, could I get a motion that the minutes of the Alberni Quayquat Regional Hospital District Board of Directors meeting held on March 13, 2024 be adopted? Moved by Director Sparrow, seconded by Director Cote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. No delegations today, no correspondence for action. And we do have some correspondence for information. We have 3 items from Island Health. First is a news release from the Community Wellness Grant Program call for applications. Second is Code Hack 2024 Cutting Edge Collaboration to Approve Card. And 30 Resilience and Safety Grant recipients. And the late item for correspondence for information is an invitation from the West Coast General Hospital Foundation is inviting us to a special event to recognize donor contributions to the expansion at West Coast General Hospital. It's going to be held on Thursday, May the 2nd from 5 to 7 p.m. at Rimrock Casino. They're going to have interactive booths to learn about the impact that your donations have made over the past few years and the resources available to you at West Coast General Hospital. And it's asking you to RSVP by April the 11th. So if anybody would like to go, I will be attending on behalf of the board, but I'd love some company. Dr. Cote.
So unfortunately, I'm not able to attend this. I'll be away. I'm just wondering if my alternate could go. Or
I think that would be fine if she could just RSVP. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, so next is reports. Banfield Health Center, Director Beckett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, nursing staff weren't able to get back to me the other day, but clerical staff did, and they said that they were thrilled to be able to report that the children from the Banfield Community School had provided artwork for the front entrance and foyer, brightening up the already beautiful healthcare center that we have in Banfield, and encourage everyone to drop by and see this lovely display of artwork. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Beckett. Alberni Quayquat Continuing Care Society, Director Siga.
Thank you. Nothing to report. The new management team is in place, and we're looking forward to working with them. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Siga. West Coast Native Healthcare Society, Director Cote.
Thank you. Great news there. They're doing very well. They have 60 people on a wait list. So they're looking at more expansion. Like, this is what we need to do, is make more housing. It's been a huge success. Their last build that they did for low cost. Like I said, 60 people on a wait list. We're also going through our accreditation process again. That's my report.
Thank you, Director Cote. Tofino General Hospital, Director Steer.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And Director Beckett, I will be working in Banfield in June. There we training our rescue specialists, so I often take them to the nursing outpost there, and so I look forward to seeing the artwork there. That sounds wonderful. Tofino General Hospital, I just talked to our director, Sarah Gogo. There are a few things from a capital end of things. There's a planning still underway for a secure room within the hospital. It's getting closer. There's a construction of a gazebo to offer a culturally appropriate healing space, as well as getting underway and should be completed this year. We're hoping this summer. There's also what's referred to as a protection service officers. They're replacing the commissionaires, and they have a CCAN that is on site now, and they're going to do some make it look a little more appropriate than the usual looking CCANs that we have. Parking renovations are on hold. There are some contracting issues that are going on there. And as we were all aware, and as we had the presentation by Diane, and I think that was around March 13th, the concept planning is well underway, and we're expecting that report to go up to the province in May. So that's a big step in moving forward in terms of the potential for the building of a new facility in Tofino. Is there anything else that I have on my list of things? Yeah, there is, Island Health will be coming up to Tofino. There will be a meeting, a community type meeting on Monday. That is Monday, after AVICC, whatever Monday that is. And that'll be at the Legion between 6 and 7:30 p.m. And then Tuesday there will be a meeting, a breakfast meeting at Tinwis, and then I think they're heading down to Ucluelet, and I'll look to Director McEwen if they were going to be making it to Ucluelet on that Tuesday. I'm not sure the conversation I had, but I can see her shaking her head, so I'm not sure. Okay, thank you. And that's it.
Thank you, Director Steer. Alberni Queequeg Health Network, Director Cote.
Thank you. We had a meeting last month, and I believe it was from that meeting that we had identified a United Way grant, UWBC Community Investment Grant, and it was aimed toward child and youth mental health programs and projects, existing or new, for ages birth to 29 years, that promotes adaptability, resiliency, communication skills, emotional regulation, problem solving, intergenerational teachings, cultural expressions, identity and sense of belonging, life skills, and pro-social behavior. So it sent that out to all of our members, and had invited them to attend AVICC as well, to be able to promote this grant to our members at the convention this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Cote. West Coast General Hospital. Chair Jack and I, along with members of the Tofino and Ucluelet municipalities, are going to be meeting with Island Health on Friday morning. And we do have a lot of things on our agenda to discuss, but if anybody has anything that you would like to add, please let me know. We'll be happy to add it to the agenda. I had originally requested the meeting to talk about the Tofino General Hospital, but what they did was, because we're all in the same area, they decided it would be better just to have a joint meeting. So I did kind of send out a draft agenda to Director McEwen and Mayor Law. So it's just a draft, so anything you want to change or add or delete, that's fine. We'll just kind of let it flow. But because there's quite a few of us and we have a lot on the agenda, I thought let's have something down in writing. And unfortunately, I can't make it to the meeting on Monday night because we have a council meeting, but I'm going to Tofino for the breakfast meeting on Tuesday morning. And I'm excited to go there. And yeah, I think that's it. And could I get a motion that the Regional Hospital Board of Directors receive reports A through G? Moved by Director Sparrow, second by Director Cote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. No unfinished business, no late business, and any questions online, Heather?
Sorry, no emails received and no questions in Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, could I get a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Director Sega, seconded by Director Jack. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. If we could have a motion to adjourn the main meeting. Thank you, Director Ross, and seconded by Director Sparrow. All of those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you. Oh, see you in a few days, hopefully. Have a good one, everyone. Thank you. Good meeting.
Good afternoon. Thank you.